Today we have to listen the object of Vipassana, objects of meditation. When you practice Vipassana meditation, you need to know the benefits of meditation. During the time of pandemic, some people are unable to cope with their life. To these people, Vipassana meditation is necessary. And there are seven benefits by practicing meditation you can gain. You can purify your minds. The minds of all beings are tainted with mental defilements. Most of the time, our minds are not pure. They are attachment or craving, greed, hatred, ignorance, pride, envy, jealousy, and so forth. Attachment defined our minds. Vipassana method helps to purify our minds. This is the only way for the purification of our minds. When we practice Vipassana meditation, we do not have greed, we do not have hatred or delusion or pride or other defilements. All these defilements are absent from our mind during meditation. When yogis have reached the destination, then their mind will be totally free from mental defilements. By going along this path, you will reach the highest stage of attainment, and your mind will be totally pure. And then you can overcome sorrow and lamentation. When you practice Vipassana meditation, you are instructed to be aware of everything that is happening to you, to notice everything that comes to you at the present moment. When you are aware of everything, when you observe everything, at that moment, the defilements will disappear. When you reach the final stage, you will have overcome sorrow and lamentation altogether. After you have reached such a stage, sorrow and lamentation will never come to you again. So this benefit is also very good. Then there will be disappearance of pain and grief. Pain means physical pain and grief means mental pain. Physical pain and mental pain can be overcome by Vipassana meditation. When you have sat for some time, you feel pain in your body. But when you persevere in watching the pain, You persevere, taking note of pain, and your concentration becomes powerful, then the pain will go away and you will have overcome pain. You can also overcome grief through the practice of Vipassana meditation. When you have reached the highest stage, you have overcome pain and grief once and for all. Then you will reach noble path. Finally, you realize Nibbana, cessation of all suffering. And then what object do we take when we practice Vipassana meditation? Vipassana meditation means observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses. So normally we say in Vipassana meditation, everything becomes the object. Everything that is prominent, everything that is evident at the present moment is the object of Vipassana meditation. But that needs some qualification that everything must be something that belongs to the ultimate reality, Paramattha Dhamma. There are two kinds of reality mentioned in Buddhism: the apparent reality and the ultimate reality. The apparent reality is called concept, that is piññati. When we say it is a man, it is a woman, so that truth is just according to the convention. But in the ultimate analysis, there is no such thing as a man, but just the combination of the five aggregates, or just say mind and matter. So mind and matter are the ultimate reality, but when mind and matter are combined as a being, then we call it a being or a man or a woman. A man or a woman or a being is a name we give to this combination of mind and matter. So a man or woman or a being actually exists only in the imagination of people. They have no individual essence. They have no existence for their own. The names we give to people or things, and also people or things that are represented by these names, are called apparent reality or concept. From this apparent reality, we can take the ultimate reality. So from the man, we get mind and matter. Mind and matter are the ultimate realities. Because they really exist and they can be experienced and they can be seen by oneself through practice of meditation. So, concepts are those that have no real existence of their own, but they exist in people's mind, and we use a lot of concepts in our daily lives. But when we practice Vipassana meditation, we do not take concepts as object, because the purpose of Vipassana meditation is to see that things are impermanent, things are suffering, and things are no soul. But concept has no such things as impermanent, suffering, and no soul, because we do not know when concepts comes into being and when they disappear. We don't know. And they do not have these three characteristics: impermanence, suffering, and no soul. And these three characteristics are important to see, because only when we see these three characteristics, we want to get away from sufferings. So it is important that we see the three characteristics, and these three characteristics are found only in the ultimate realities and not in concept. How many ultimate realities? Ultimate reality? Four. Four. Can you follow me? Consciousness, mental factors, matters, and nirvana. Chaita, Chitasika, Rupa, Nibbana. Chaita, Chitasika, Rupa, and Nibbana. Rupa and Nibbana. Consciousness, mental factors, metta, and Nibbana. So there are four ultimate realities. Among these four, the great part of consciousness and great part of mental factors and mettas or material properties are the object of Vipassana meditation. And Vipassana meditation takes only what belongs to mundane sphere, Lokiya Dhamma, not those that belong to supramundane sphere. There are types of consciousness that are called supramundane that arise at the moment of enlightenment, and also the mental factors accompanying them. These are not taken as object, simply because they are not yet attained by those yogis who practice Vipassana meditation. When we practice Vipassana meditation, we have to wash our mind, we wash our emotion, and we wash our consciousness, we wash mental states, and so on. only that we experience, only those that arise in our mind, we can take as object. So the object of Vipassana meditation is first the ultimate reality. Among the ultimate reality, those that belong to mundane sphere, not supramundane sphere, a yogi who has gained lower stages of enlightenment may practice Vipassana meditation, and he could take the supramundane consciousness, his supramundane consciousness as object of Vipassana meditation. But although he may dwell on the supramundane consciousness, there is no benefits of getting rid of mental defilements regarding that consciousness, because the supramundane consciousness is not the object of mental defilements. So a yogi in consciousness and non-jhana consciousness, jhana consciousness is that which arises in a person who practice samatha or calm meditation, who takes mostly a concept as an object of meditation, who develops samadhi concentration on it and reach a stage of jhana. At that moment, a consciousness arises in him. That consciousness is called jhana consciousness. Jhana consciousness can be taken as object for Vipassana meditation. But only those yogi who have attained jhana can take jhana as object of meditation. If you have not attained jhana, you cannot take jhana as object of meditation simply because you have not attained it. You have not attained jhana. That is for direct Vipassana. There are two kinds of Vipassana, Pichaka and Anumana. Pichaka, direct Vipassana, and Anumana, inferential Vipassana. First, you get the direct Vipassana. That means you put your mind on the objects and you come to see these objects as impermanent, suffering, and no soul. After you have seen the real object, you have observed as impermanent, suffering, and no soul, you can make an inference that just as this object I'm observing is impermanent, suffering, and no soul, so other objects will be impermanent, suffering, and no soul. In that way, you practice inferential vipassana on the other phenomena which you do not actually experience. But inferential vipassana must come only after direct vipassana. First, you have to see that certain object is impermanent. Only after that you can infer that just as this is impermanent, so the other objects are impermanent. In direct Vipassana, you take the object, what you can experience or what you have experienced. If you have not experienced jhana, then you cannot take jhana as object of Vipassana. So you can take non-jhana consciousness and the mental factors along with these types of consciousness as the object of meditation. Among the non-jhana consciousness, those that arise only in the minds of arahants cannot be taken as object, because those who are not arahants cannot have experienced those types of consciousness. So these types of consciousness cannot be taken as object. Actually, there are just a few types of consciousness and mental factors and all material properties that can be the object of Vipassana meditation. Among those that are non-jhana consciousness or among those that are material properties, only those objects that are evident to the yogi are to be taken as object. And Vipassana begins with what is evident to the yogi, what you can observe easily. At the beginning of Vipassana, you don't try to understand or you don't try to see things that are subtle, that cannot be easily seen. So you begin with what is evident to you, what is easy to comprehend. This is one important thing. Because if you try to see those, they are not evident. Because they are not evident, you don't see them clearly. And if you don't see them clearly, you don't see their characteristics, you don't see them as impermanent suffering and no soul. So Vipassana begins with what is evident, what is prominent, what is easy to see. And also there are two kinds of objects, internal object and external object, ijjata and bahida. Ijjata, internal means that arises in your mind and in your body that you really experience. Bahida, external means those that arise in other people and also those that are in outside things like trees, mountains, and so on. Although both internal and external objects are the objects of Vipassana meditation, a yogi concentrates on the internal objects, ijjata. because only the internal objects are evident to you. For example, the mind of other person you don't know, the mind of another person you don't see, the mind of another person, but you may infer that person is angry or that person is happy. You may infer, but you don't really see for yourself his state of mind. But what is happening in you and what is happening in your mind, you really know whether you are really angry or you are really happy or any other. So it is important that yogi should lay emphasis on observing the objects that are internal. That means your own states of mind, your own types of consciousness, and your own material properties, sensation in the body and others. After yogi has observed the internal objects and comes to know them as impermanent suffering and no soul, then he or she may do the inferential vipassana on the external objects such as mind. Consciousness is impermanent, so the consciousness of other people and so on are impermanent. Sometimes such understanding just comes by itself and you don't have to intentionally think about it. Although both internal and external objects are the objects of Vipassana meditation, yogi should lay emphasis on observing the internal objects as much as you can. Instead of looking for outside object, instead of searching for outside objects, yogi should concentrate on the objects that are in your mind and in your body. Looking for some outside objects is actually a distraction. By doing that, concentration and understanding cannot develop. Next, the object of Vipassana is the present object. Here also in inferential Vipassana, a yogi can take the past object and the future objects as the object of Vipassana meditation. But here also, first there must be direct understanding, direct observation, direct Vipassana on the object that is evident to you. That which is evident to you is actually that which is present at the moment. So you take the object at the present moment as the object of meditation, and you try to be mindful of it, or you try to make maintenance of it, and you try to see its characteristics. You try to see that it is impermanent, suffering, and no soul. After you have seen the present object, and you clearly see the present objects as impermanent, suffering, and no soul, and you may do inference or inferential vipassana. Just as this present object is impermanent, so the objects in the past were impermanent, and also the objects in the future will be impermanent. The kinds of contemplation or comprehension comes to a yogi actually almost by itself. After seeing the present object as impermanent, suffering, and no soul, a yogi just comes to see that just as this is impermanent, so the others are impermanent. What is important for a Vipassana yogi is the object at the present moment. Present is very, very precious. That is because only the object at the present moment can be observed and can be seen clearly. An object that is past now cannot be observed, however much you may recall it to your mind, you do not see it clearly, you cannot see its characteristics and so on. And the objects that are to come, since they are not yet here, you cannot look at them, you cannot see them, you cannot observe them. So you cannot understand their true nature. Only the object at the present moment lends itself to observation, investigation, or comprehending. So the object at the present is the most important. And that objects at the present moment can be any of ultimate realities. Your thoughts, your emotions, sensation in the body, or the rising and falling of the abdomen, or breathing in and out, and there are many things. And Buddha said, do not let the past come back to you, or do not go after the past, because the past is already past. But mostly people go to the past very frequently. They do not stay in the present. And do not long for the future, because the future has not yet come. But people have a lot of worry about the future. So a yogi who is able to be mindful of the object at the present moment or the present moment as it arises should develop concentration and wisdom that cannot be dragged away by wrong views or by attachment, that cannot be destroyed by wrong views and attachment. Buddha instructed his disciple to be mindful of the object at the present moment, not to go back to the past and not to long for the future. Because they are not real actually. One is already past and so not here. The other is not yet here, so they are not here. However much you try to watch them, you will not see them clearly. And if you don't see them clearly, you cannot see their characteristics. But the present object is different. Since it is here, as it were in front of your eyes, you can watch it and you can examine it and you can see it clearly. When you see it clearly, you know that it arises and it disappears. It is impermanent and it is constantly oppressed by arising and disappearing, because one arises and disappears and then another arises and then disappears and so on. It is like being bombarded by arising and disappearing. That sense of being constantly oppressed by arising and disappearing is what we call suffering. And also we know that we cannot do anything about it. We just have to accept it. We cannot make the impermanence permanence. We cannot make suffering happiness, and so on. So we have no control over it, and that having no control over it is what we meant by anatta, uncontrollable, unmanageable, no soul. These three characteristics are important because without seeing these three characteristics, we cannot make progress, or we cannot get to the point where we are dispassionate towards all mental and physical phenomena, dispassionate towards suffering. So it is important that we pay attention to the object at the present moment and not to be distracted to the past or to the future. So meditation object is very limited. Only just take the present objects continuously. If you think of the future and think of what will happen in the future or whatever, you are distracted. When you are distracted, you cannot make notes of the present object clearly. If you do not see the present clearly, the concentration and understanding cannot develop. That is why sometimes people spend a lot of time, they spend days and weeks, and they could not make progress in their practice. So it is important that the objects we take must belong to the ultimate reality, and the object we take must be the one which is easy to see, which is evident. And it must be the object which is in the present moment. Yogi should understand the object of Vipassana meditation. So if there's no teacher and if you are on your own practice, at home you should understand that Vipassana does not take concepts as object. Vipassana takes ultimate reality as your object, and ultimate reality means your mind and your thoughts, your emotions and sensation in the body, movements of the body, and so on. They are all called ultimate realities. Among the ultimate realities, we concentrate on what is mundane, and among the mundane, the objects we take are mostly non-jhana consciousness and concomitant mental factors and all material properties. These can be both external and internal, and we should concentrate more on internal objects and then external objects. Actually, they are to be taken as objects only when they force into our mind, like when we hear a noise. And also, we should concentrate on the objects at the present moment and not on those that are past or that are yet to come. When we practice Vipassana meditation, please keep this in mind and try to be mindful of the object at the present moment. Sometimes it is the breathing or the movements of the abdomen rising and falling. Sometimes thoughts going here and there. Sometimes emotions, sometimes sensation in the body. Whatever is evident at the present moment, it is the object of Vipassana meditation. If we can just pay attention to the object at the present moment and not go back to the past, not long for or think about the future, we will develop concentration quickly. When the concentration gets developed, we come to see the true nature of these objects that are impermanent, they are suffering, and they are no soul. This is the purpose or function of Vipassana. Because the meanings of the Vipassana is seeing in various ways. See in various ways means seeing mental and physical phenomena as impermanent, suffering, and no soul. So when we practice Vipassana, it is important that we see these three characteristics. It is changing all the time, it is impermanent, and then it is suffering, and it is no soul. So we have to practice meditation for a few minutes. Keep your upper body straight, close your eyes. Take the postures that is most comfortable for you, preferably the cross-legged position. Keep your back straight. Looking in not necessary, close your eyes. If you open your eyes, you have to note seeing. So close your eyes. Just be relaxed and breathe normally. Breathe in, breathe out steadily. Keep your mind on the abdomen. When you breathe in, the abdomen rises, and know the rising movement from the beginning to the end. Pay close attention. You can capture the ultimate reality. Pay close attention so that you are fully aware of the movement. When the abdomen falls, when you breathe out, be mindful of the falling movement from the beginning to the end. You may mentally note rising when the abdomen is rising and falling when it is falling. But if making mental notes interfere with your practice, you don't have to make them. Just be mindful of the rising and falling movements of the abdomen. Concentrate. You may feel either tension or pressure or extension in the abdomen. You may concentrate on it. Here, the emphasis is to be mindful of the movements rather than the abdomen's shape or form. So this is ultimate realities. Naturally, our mind is jumping around all the time. The mind should be trained. So keep your mind on the abdomen. If your mind can remain on the rising and falling of the abdomen, it would be very good. If you train, the mind is very stable and fixed on the abdomen. But the mind has a tendency to wander quite often. So when you are keeping your mind on the abdomen, be mindful when the mind wanders. Just be mindful of its wandering and note it as wandering, wandering might disappear, then go back to the movements of the abdomen. The movements of the abdomen is our home objects because we always go back to them after paying attention to any other object that becomes prominent at the present moment. If you hear something in your thoughts, be mindful of hearing. And if you hear the actual noise, keep your mind inside the ear and be mindful of hearing. The noise disappear, sound disappear, and then go back to the home object. When you set meditation for long, sensation of stiffness and heat will arise in your body. These are to be noted carefully. So we practice few minutes.
Sukhiya danam bariyarami Mama mata bidu Acariya Nyadi Meta Sabrahmacharino Avirahondu Avyabhajahondu Anigahondu Sikhiyadanam Bariharandu Imasame Arame Sabe Yagino Avirahondu Avyabhajahondu Anigahondu Sikhiyadanam Bariharandu Imasame Arame Sabe Bhikkhu Samaneracha Upasaka Upasika
Anika Hondu Sikiyadanam Variharamdu Amagam Jatu Vajaya Dayakam Awira Hondu Abhyapaja Hondu Aniga Hondu Sukiyadanam Variharandu Amagam Araka Devatam Imasame Vihare Imasame Avase Imasame Arame Araka Devatam Awira Hondu Abhyapaja Hondu Aniga Hondu Sikiyadanam Variharandu Sabbe Saddam Sabbe Vanam Sabbe Buddha Sabbe Pogala Sabbe Adabhawa Variyabana Savaidiyam Sabbe Purisam Sabbe Ariyam Sabbe Anariyam Sabbe Deva Sabbe Manosam Sabbe Vinivadiga Awira Hondu Abhyapaja Hondu Aniga Hondu Sukiyadanam Variharandu Dukkha Mojandu Yada Lada Sambadidam Mawigichandu Kamasaga Uradi Maya Disaya Pachimaya Sayadaw Oddaraya Disaya Daginaya Disaya Puradimaya Nudisaya Pachimaya Nudisaya Oddaraya Nudisaya Daginaya Nudisaya Itimaya Disaya Uparimaya Disaya Sabbe Saddha Sabbe Vana Sabbe Buddha Sabbe Bogala Sabbe Atta Bhava Pariyabana Sabba Itiyo Sabbe Purisa Sabbe Ariya Sabbe Anariya Sabbe Deva Sabbe Manosa Sabbe Vinipatika Avera Hondu Avyavaja Hondu Anika Hondu Sikhiyadanam Variharamdu Dukkhamochamdu Yadalada Sambadidam Mavigichamdu Kamasakam Uddam Yawa Bhavagacha Adoyawa Avijitam Samanta Chakavalesu Ye Satta Bhadavijaram Avyavacha Niveracha Nidokacha Nupadawa Udam Yawa Bhavakacha Samanta Chakavalesu Ye Sada Udake Jaram Avya Pacha Niveraja Nidoka Chanupadawa Odam Yawa Bhavagacha Adoyawa Awijita Samanta Chakavalesu Ye Sada Kase Jara Avya Paja Niveraja Nidoka Chanupadawa Imaya Dhammani Dhammavadivadiyam Buddham Mujemi Imaya Dhammani Dhammavadivadiyam Dhammam Mujemi Imaya Dhammani Dhammavadivadiyam Sangham Mujemi Imaya Dhammani Dhammavadivadiyam Adabidaram Ujemi Imayam Dhammani Dhammavadivadiyam Acariye Ujemi Daimaya Patibadaya Jaramaranamam Parimojesami Dame Bonyam Asavakayawaham Hodu Dame Silam Megabala Nyanasam Pacaya Hodu Mano Punyavagam Savasatanam Dema Visada Sukita Ondu Sa